Yo, this is the Streetwise Podcast. We're here to help you level up your game, level up your leadership, and level up your life. I'm your host, Matthew McReynolds. I'm a multi-brand franchisee, and I'm a franchise consultant where I help people find, launch, and build their ideal business. My main goal is to help you get off of zero and become the person that your dreams need you to be. Buckle up, get your popcorn ready. Let's go.
Happy New Year. We did it. It's 2024. Can you believe it? I sure can. The older I get, it just seems the year goes by faster and faster and faster. It's crazy. If you don't have any sort of vision or metric on what you're going to do on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, that is going to help you achieve your ultimate vision, man, it's just so easy to get caught up in the daily minutia that we can be busy but not actually ever productive, and it's crazy. So if you feel like you're running around in circles, just know that you're not alone, but you are going to have to take some initial intentionality in building up a system for yourself to be productive, to actually accomplish things. So you're not just running around chasing aimless productivity or aimless busyness, but you're actually achieving your goals. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the 5 things I learned when I built out my leadership team. A lot of us entrepreneurs, man, we struggle in delegating. We struggle in building out any sort of team whatsoever because the business is us. It's our baby. It's what it came from, our inner soul, our essence. You know, it was a part of who we were that we decided we wanted to give back to the world in this way. So many people don't even start or launch any type of business or venture because they don't know what that thing actually is. They don't know their purpose. They don't know what their gift is. They don't know what their passion is. So they don't do anything. So for those of us who have figured it out, it's very difficult for us to let that go and delegate and allow other people to impose on our inner spirit, our creature, our baby. It's really, really hard. And so before I even get going on the 5 things that I learned when I built out my leadership team, I just want to say, I get it. I've been there. I understand how you feel, but once you start building out any sort of venture, you will inevitably become the bottleneck. And it's one of the worst things in the world to take something that you're passionate about and taint it in a way that you have to sell yourself. You have to sell your passion. You have to finagle it and change it and customize it in order to fit the marketplace. And if it just so happens to work out perfectly, great, make your money. But it is going to catch up to you if you have your entire identity in your thing, in your widget, in your craft, in your passion, and you're making money off of it. It's going to come to a point where you're going to get burnt out, or you'll get to a point where you need to take a break, or it gets too big that you can't facilitate it by yourself anymore. So when that happens, in order to grow, in order to scale, it's very important that you can leverage other people's time, other people's money, other people's resources in order to build something that's truly special. So on this show, I talk a lot about EOS. I've had EOS implementers come on the show and give their experience on why they love EOS, how they got started in becoming an implementer. And it's really cool. It's helped me immensely build out my leadership team. There's a lot of tools out there. Patrick Lencioni is another great resource when it comes to building out a team and talking about organizational health. I just highly recommend people that are building out anything that is bigger than them. And if we truly are building out something, we have to understand that it is bigger than us. Otherwise, it's just you. Where our ego resides is a strong determinant on how far we actually go. There's a limit to what we can achieve if we are isolated in by ourselves. And so if our ego can be directed in a way that it is more about the greater good than about what is just good for us, we can go farther. I think there's a science around that. Is it physics, hermeneutics? Who knows? Need to get a pastor back on this show. Building up a leadership team is tough, but it's necessary. It's necessary. So here's the 5 things that I learned when I started the process of building out my leadership team. Number 1, you will have turnover when you start establishing systems and building out accountability. And here's why. A lot of the people, especially when you hire them initially, if they stick around for a while, but you don't have any systems or accountability, it's so easy for people to get away with stuff, to fall into bad habits. And you guys might be able to survive, but there's a difference between surviving and thriving. And so when you start to establish those systems and processes, and now people are starting to feel the accountability, it is only natural to get pushback. And if you've got players in the team that do not have high emotional intelligence, they just won't last. But on the flip side, there might be people that you decide are not a good fit for the organization because you started to look at your culture, what we say, what we don't say. You might have somebody who's the right person, but might be in the wrong seat, or vice versa. You might have somebody that's in the right seat, but they're the wrong person. And if they don't self-identify, you can now self-identify people that you couldn't before because you have those systems of accountability. So you need to be ready. Again, it's not gonna be easy, but it's 100% imperative. If you're going to scale, if you're going to grow, you build out the team, you create these systems, just know people are going to leave. Number 2, the best producers are not always the best leaders. Now, as you build up a leadership team, you have to delegate tasks in order to elevate yourself and elevate your role in the organization. And so it's inevitable that you're going to start looking at, okay, who can I delegate things to on the team? Do I bring somebody from the outside? Do I promote somebody from within? I'm a big proponent of bringing people up from inside the organization. In all my businesses, we are very big on developing people. So when the time comes for them to exit our organization, they're in a much better place than they were when they entered the organization, because how we've developed them, how we've showed them opportunities and educated them throughout our entire process. So that's what we're all about. We love bringing people from the inside, but it's important to note that the best producers are not always the best leaders. The best salespeople are not always the best sales managers. The best people at getting jobs done efficiently are not always the best at holding other people accountable. A lot of times these guys, they're so good because they know how to operate themselves. And most of the time they're disgruntled by the other players on the team that are not able, whether they don't get it, they don't have the capacity, or they don't want to be as good or as efficient as your top producers. And so in my experience, these guys can come in and just ignore people. It's not my problem. They need to manage themselves. They need to figure it out. Why can't they do this? Or when they do get into a leadership position, they act as bullies and they start pushing people around, which there's a time and place for that, but that also can become toxic. So just know the best producers are not always the best leaders. A good way to find out individuals with strong leadership traits is to do assessments. I'm a big fan of assessments. You got the DISC, you got Colby, you got the Strengths Finder, you got Working Geniuses. It's a lot of good assessments out there, and that's a great way to help you determine who's got potential for leadership and who would be better suited to stay in their own lane and be a top producer for you. Number 3, communication is essential. Accountability is essential to the growth and the building of a healthy organization. People have to be vulnerable. If people are not vulnerable and willing to communicate things that they are frustrated with, upset with, verbalize successes, all of it, we have to be real with each other. And if your leaders aren't willing to be real and admit mistakes and take coaching and constructive criticism, you're going to struggle and your leadership team will never be truly healthy. You guys might have a good run, but it will come back to bite you. If you find somebody that is a solid individual, but they have a hard time being vulnerable, it's not a red flag. It doesn't mean that that person has to go. However, you really do need to dig deep and figure out where that issue resides and if it's possible to be solved, fixed, if they can grow in that way. It truly is important. Number 4 thing that I learned when building out my leadership team. It's super important to understand, again, who your leaders are and what their goals are. You have to understand what your leaders' goals are. Everybody on the team, especially on the leadership team, needs to understand the organization's goals, the rocks, the big core values, the things that make the organization who it is. But as the true leader, you need to understand who the people on your team are. The concept of assessments, again, super important, but where are they trying to grow? Where are they? What are they chasing? Right? You could set all of these objectives, but if they don't align with an individual's personal goals on work-life balance, on, maybe they got a trip that they've always wanted to go on, what's on their bucket list? As a leader, you got to understand these people. You got to understand who they are and what it is that they're actually trying to achieve. It's just low-hanging fruit that will take you to the next level. And I think what you'll find when you start asking these questions to your team and you start assessing them, a lot of times they themselves don't even know. They don't, because nobody's ever asked them before. They've never had a leader push them to articulate what their 2-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals, 15-year goals, especially if you're working with younger people. I think the average age on my team is between 26 and 28. A lot of these guys have not had leaders or coaches in their life they're truly pushing them as adults to level up. A lot of these guys, all right, I'm out on my own, I'm doing my own thing, and I'm just trying to pay rent. I'm trying to make sure I got enough in the bank to make sure I got Christmas presents for my daughter. It's that type of thing. And so if you as a leader can be somebody that can come in and help them articulate for themselves who they want to become in the next 5 years, whether you're a part of this organization or not, that is powerful, man. That is powerful. And a lot of leaders take that for granted and they miss out on some low-hanging fruit that can take them a really long way.
Yo, thanks for listening this far. It's at this point in the episode that I want to talk about Streetwise franchising, teaching, training, building. Streetwise franchising. As a franchise consultant, it's my job, it's my absolute pleasure, and it's my mission to help aspiring entrepreneurs find, launch, and build their ideal business. I've been a franchise owner for almost a decade. I know what it means to struggle. I know what it means to build a team. If you're ready to get off of zero, if you're ready to build something for yourself, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's get the conversation started. Don't wait until tomorrow to build your future. It starts today. Streetwise franchising. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Let's get back to the episode.
All right, number 5, last and definitely not least, number 5 thing that I learned when building out my leadership team is building out a leadership team takes so much time, period. You will make mistakes on the way. It is inevitable. People are complicated. They have personal lives, believe it or not, that go on outside of your business, and they could be best person in the world and they're still going to have a bad day. They could be the worst person in the world and something could possibly click in them that changes them. That one thing that might click, though, for that person who's the worst, That one thing that might click is getting them up off your team and onto somebody else's team. It is a very unfortunate and sad thing when a leader has an individual on the team and they, whether or not maybe they perform well enough or there's personal things that are going on, and as a leader, you need to exit this person out of your organization, but for whatever reason, you just don't do it. That not only is limiting for you, your business, the other players that are on your team or are having to deal with somebody who's either toxic or a poor performer, but the person themselves, it is a disservice to them because it limits their ability to grow. If the faucet is turned off in your organization and you're just building up resentment, that has more than just physical. I mean, there's a spiritual aspect to that as well for your organization, for the person themselves. It is so much healthier to get them up out of the organization. And it's an act of kindness at the end of the day. You got to stay the course. You got to do the hard things. You got to be willing to rip the Band-Aid. You got to be willing to be vulnerable. Some resources that I highly recommend on this topic when you're looking to build out a leadership team: Traction, phenomenal book. Next, E-Myth. The E-Myth is a great book for building out your leadership team because it helps the entrepreneur go from the technician, the one working the widget, to the manager, the person that is managing a team of people that are working the widgets, and then the true entrepreneur, the person who is managing the manager and can now look at the greater vision. Like I said, EOS and Traction are great. There's all the tools in the world. Rocket Fuel is another great book. But I would also recommend Ideal Team Player and The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, 2 great books by Patrick Lencioni, and those are absolutely phenomenal in looking to identify, Ideal Team Player: humble, hungry, smart. Smart, do they have emotional intelligence? Hungry, does the individual have any sort of ambition or motivation or drive? And then humble, where does their ego reside? Is it within themselves, or do they have the capacity to do things for the greater good? And The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, man, that one is just solid. That one's solid. You got to check it out. It really breaks down the 5 dysfunctions of a team and why most teams fail to achieve a status of healthy, and how not having that status of healthy actually hinders their growth. And just phenomenal resources. Highly recommend it. Check them out. I might put a link to these books in the show notes. But until next time, these were the 5 things I learned when I built out my leadership team. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace. Oh, before we go. Nah, that's all. Y'all have a great day. Peace.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Hey, if this episode added any value to your life at all, please like it, share it, give me a 5-star review. It's the only way that this show is going to gain traction and help more people achieve their dreams. If you're ready to start your franchise journey, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's set up a time to talk. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.